Hey everyone! So as many of you guys know, I went to San Diego Comic-Con this year and I dressed up as San from Princess Mononoke. I actually made a 4-part, kind of 5-part-ish actually, series of making the costume. It was a ton of fun and I loved dressing up and wandering around the convention hall. But once I got home and I unpacked all of my clothes and stuff, I suddenly had this big costume that I had nowhere to store. I live in a shotgun style house, which is basically just like a series of rooms with no storage whatsoever, but really tall walls, which is really nice. But that left me with nowhere to really store my costume. So I decided that I would take advantage of the wall space and make a pretty neat looking wall hanging out of my costume. This actually is kind of nice because I can display what I made and not like hide it away, because dang it, I'm pretty proud of how it turned out, so why not show it off? So for today's project, I'm going to be showing you guys the little plaque wall hanging thing that I made for it. So let's get started. This is going to be more of a DIY where I walk you through what I did. So I used a 14 by 18 inch wooden plaque, a 5 by 7 inch wooden plaque, which you may have noticed that I did a wood burn design onto, and this was actually my art video for this week. And I finished both plaques with some wood stain, sawtooth hanging hardware, a hammer, a ruler, a pencil, 4 leather straps, sandpaper, some short screws, wood glue, dowel, 2 screw hooks, and the costume with the weapons, of course. I found the midpoint on the back of the big plaque and I nailed in the sawtooth hardware. Since I want to cross the weapons in the middle, they're going to be stacked on top of each other, so I need to make sure the smaller plaque sits at least that far away from the bigger plaque. I measured the width of the 2 weapon handles, which ended up being 1.5 inches. I cut 2 pieces of dowel to that size, and I also painted them a darker color so they would blend into the rest of the display later. On the front side, I put the smaller plaque in the middle. I just eyeballed this, and then I traced around it so I knew where to screw in the straps. I placed part of the weapon handle in the position that I wanted it, and I screwed in 2 of the straps on one side, like so. Once I had the 2 straps screwed down, I draped them over the handle and then screwed down the other side, making sure not to make it too tight. I wanted to be able to remove the weapons if I wanted to use this costume again. I trimmed the extra leather straps off, and then I placed the other weapon handle in place and then repeated this process. Here you can see that I used another part of the weapon to help hold the handle at the correct distance. And then here you can see that that method didn't actually really work as I intended it to. The top one was quite wobbly, so I decided to just make that one tight because I figured I could just remove the bottom one and then there would be enough slack to remove the top one. Anyway, I threw in some extra screws to make the straps tighter. I didn't worry too much about how this all looked because it was going to be covered by the smaller plaque. I placed the small dowel pieces on the top and bottom and traced them out. Really, I probably should have went with 4 of these things, with these 2 and then 2 on the side, but whatever. This ended up working out alright. Since I stained the piece of wood already, I had to sand where I wanted the dowels to attach because wood glue doesn't stick to wood stain. Then I stuck the dowel in place with a dab of glue, and then I placed the small plaque on top with some more dabs of glue, and then I weighed it down as it dried. Once dry, it was pretty strong, so I'm not too worried about this piece breaking off. Then, I just screwed in the 2 screw hooks on either side of the plaque. And then, the display was done. If you watched my video for this costume, you may notice that suddenly I have 2 spears now. I actually only attached 2 of the spear segments together, and then I taped the dagger to the other spear segment and then covered the seam with a piece of leather. So now it seems like there are 2 spears, but then I can still take the dagger apart and use all of the pieces as they're intended. To put it into the display, I slipped the weapon through the longer leather strips, pulled that forward, and then slipped the other weapon through the smaller strips and under the first weapon. And everything held together pretty nice. Now, I've seen weapon displays like this, and I have no idea how they're actually constructed, so if there are any of you out there who have actually made something like this or have seen how they're actually put together. I apologize for probably doing this completely stupidly, but hey, it works at least, so I'm pretty happy about that. And to attach the cape and mask, first I safety pinned it together, bundled up like so, and then all I had to do was add 2 safety pins on either side of the back, roughly as far apart as the hooks are, and then I could easily hook it onto the display like this. I hope you all enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please leave a like, and if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. I post art videos every Tuesday and DIY videos every Thursday. You can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, or Snapchat, and I'll leave the information to those down below. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down below. And if you make any project using my tutorials, then use the hashtag ChezlinDIY on Instagram or Twitter or whatever you can use hashtags on and show them off. It's really awesome to see how your guys' projects turn out. Alright, I'll see you next week.